This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 1133 of Horse Tip Daily, your almost everyday morsel of helpful hints, useful facts, and practical techniques for horse folks. Brought to you today by Uncle Jimmy's. Greetings, horse people. Coach Jen here, and thanks for tuning in to Horse Tip Daily. For today's tip, I am joined by Robin Bond, a woman who has excelled in a wide variety of riding disciplines, from eventing to extreme cowboy races. Today, she's going to take us step by step through teaching a horse and rider to pick up, carry, and set down scary things, like rain slickers and hunt coats. And we'll get right to our tip after this from Uncle Jimmy's. Uncle Jimmy's Hanging Balls and Licky Things help combat stall boredom by providing your horse entertainment in the stall, while at the same time providing them with much-needed minerals and nutrients not found in other treats. Uncle Jimmy's has training treats covered, too, with Uncle Jimmy's Squeezy Buns. Every deliciously soft, squishy treat is individually wrapped for freshness, so your pockets won't get gummed up. Ask for Uncle Jimmy's Hanging Balls, Licky Things, and Squeezy Buns at your local tack and feed supplier, or you can go online to uncle-jimmys.com. Teaching your horse to allow you to carry a flag or to pick up a jacket off of a fence post or that type of skill set. How to take a horse and a rider. The rider's never done it before, and the horse is terrified. Can you take me through sort of steps 1 through 3 to safely teach horse and rider to do those things?
Sure. The
All
most
right.
important.
Go for it.
Don't want to jump the gun. The most important thing when teaching your horse how to carry a flag or allow you to pick up a slicker or a coat from the fence is that you spend some time on the ground doing what people traditionally call sacking out. Not so much that you're trying to kill the horse with your jacket, but that you can pick that jacket up or that flag or anything that you need and bring it up and touch the horse with it without him having a problem with it. What happens most of the time when people start with that is they see that the horse scurries away and they give up. What you need to do, step 1, and it helps if you have the flags or the plastic bag on the end of a dressage whip or something of that nature, so it gives your arm a little reach. And you need to be able to take that item and touch the horse with it without him running off. When they first see it, they'll frequently go ahead and go sideways or backwards. It's very important that you stay with them until you touch them. As soon as you touch them with it, they'll stop running.
So I guess it's important to not allow small children and naughty teenagers to chase your horses with flags or throw their sweatshirt at them.
That's a bad idea.
That's always a bad idea. Okay. So a lot of us have heard the phrase sacking out, and perhaps some of us, our only experience with actually seeing sacking out might not have been such a positive experience, especially if you watch Disney movies, because the guy doing the sacking out is always the bad guy. Give me some clues, some things that I can look for in my horse that's telling me I'm doing it properly versus I'm sacking the horse out and I'm making the problem worse. What should I look for in my horse?
You want to start with a horse that has relaxed muscles, that has a soft eye, that is paying attention. And most of the time when you're dealing with flags and jackets, you already have a horse that is broke to ride. You have a horse that is accustomed to having a saddle pad put on his back. So when you go to saddle your horse, you look for the same things as you would look for when you're going to sack one out for flag training. If you don't want to saddle a horse whose eye is rolled back in his head, who's quivering, who's pulling back on the rope, any of those things. So you want to hold your item that you're using to sack the horse out with in a neutral position, usually slightly behind you on the ground, and wait for that horse to just be comfortable with you being there. And when you go to bring that item up to touch him, you want to do it in a place where he's familiar, such as he's used to the saddle pad and the saddle going up to his back. If you want to take that and put it towards his back where the saddle goes, that's a good spot. Frequently, you want the horse to reach out and touch it with his nose. And we think a lot of times that he's smelling it, and that certainly is part of it, but touching things with his nose, just like children and toddlers, they put things in their mouth to see what they are. Horses touch them with their nose. So you want a horse to be curious about it. If you hold it out in front of him and he looks at it, he may reach his neck out and flare his nostrils, prick his ears, and look to it until he touches it with his nose. That's also a good start.
Very interesting. So step one, we've taken our quiet and confident horse and we have intelligently sacked him out with a big soft saddle pad, and that has worked successfully. What's our next step?
Our next step would be to have that same experience with a rider on top of them. You would have one person on the ground and one person in the saddle, because if you pick something up in the saddle, a lot of times we don't think to drop it when we need to drop it. Our hand freezes around the rein, our hand freezes around the flag, and the horse is swirling around, and you don't have the wherewithal to think to either pull it up in your lap where the horse can no longer see or sense it, or to drop it. So you want a ground handler and a rider, and then you want to work the horse very much the same way as you did without the rider. Get the person on the ground to handle the horse's head even, so that the horse looks to the person who's using the jacket or the flag.
Mm-hmm. So we're really taking it in baby steps here, aren't we?
Yes.
So now
another really, really good technique is to have a horse that already broke to it ride ahead of you, and have the horse that you're getting accustomed to it ride behind, following.
Very good idea.
The person in front has a flag and their horse is broken and is already used to it. You take your second horse that you're training and you have them follow that until they're comfortable. And then you come alongside and retreat, you pass, you circle, all of those things so that that horse that you're going to get ready to flag train or jacket train isn't attached to the item that scares him, so that if he does get scared, that rider has two hands to handle the situation and get everything back under control.
It's always amazing how, especially if the horse that's carrying the flag and he's watching is a horse that he's familiar with, how they go, oh, well, if Old Thunder over there can do it, it must not be so bad. He's not being eaten alive.
It's interesting that we think that would work all the time, and it works a lot, but it doesn't always.
It doesn't hurt, though, does it?
No, it certainly doesn't hurt.
At least you get an idea of the horse you're sitting on, the one you're training. You're going to go, well, his reaction to a flag as it flaps in the breeze is to leap straight up in the air, even though I don't have one. Okay, note to self, horse might leap straight up in the air. You get an idea of what these reactions are going to be. So
and maybe it's not time for me to pick that up yet.
Maybe it's not time. So once we've successfully had the horse, we've exposed the horse to our flag or our jacket by a ground handler while sitting on the horse. Am I guessing correctly that the next step is to hold it? Is that what's next?
Yes, and you would pass it back and forth between the ground handler and the rider so that horse sees it off to the side. Most of the time, the flag doesn't cause a problem to the horse who's carrying it as long as he doesn't see it. You usually hold a flag up, and if the wind's not picked up, it's going to be essentially a lot out of his range. What happens frequently when the wind picks up, it'll blow the flag forward into the horse's eye, and he'll shy away from it. If the flag blows forward in front on the left shoulder, he's going to duck right. Mm-hmm. You do want to make sure that the horse is familiar with having it touch his hindquarters as well. All of my horses get used to this because of the facility where I train, I'm the farthest barn away from the covered arena. So I have to put a slicker on, ride to the covered arena, take the slicker off, ride, put the slicker back on, ride back to my barn.
Necessity is the mother of invention there, isn't it?
That's right. All but one horse in my little row here are good with that right now, due to this careful handling. I pony horses when I'm wearing a slicker. They see it all the time. They're used to it being there. And then when it's time for me to be on them, I just make sure that I have a ground crew to pass back and forth until we're ready. And then usually it ends up being no big deal.
Yeah, and it's such a handy skill. Even if your horse is never going to carry a flag for the national anthem at a rodeo, this type of skill set where you can take something large and flappy, jackets, sweatshirts, flags, pick it up, put it down, hand it to somebody else on a horse, hand it to somebody on the ground, is really a useful skill, because even if your horse isn't Mr. Quiet and he's not going to win any awards, you know his reactions and you're familiar with what he's going to do because you've practiced it enough. At least you're not going to get yourself dumped on your head at a horse show when you go to take your jacket off, or try to pick up a sweatshirt off of a jump standard at the end of your riding lesson and you've not practiced these kinds of skills. Your horse might just jump right out from under you, and boy, that would be embarrassing after having a really lovely jump school with George Morris. And to find more from Robin Bond, you can just go to her website at robinbondequine.com. Well, there you have it, and you can find links to today's guests at horsetipdaily.com. Make sure you have all of your favorite Horse Radio Network shows with you wherever you go by downloading the free Horse Radio Network app for iPhone or Android. Just go to your app store and search Horse Radio Network. Download it today. It's quick, it's free, and it's easy. Or you can subscribe via iTunes. This podcast was made possible through the generous support of Uncle Jimmy's and listeners like you. Learn how you can help support Horse Radio Network programming and qualify for auditors-only perks at horsetipdaily.com. Click on the Become an Auditor banner in the center of the page. I'll be back again soon with another tip, but until then, go ride your horse. The Horse Radio Network and the Horse Radio Network hosts are not responsible for statements of guests or their opinions. Use your own judgment when listening to the tips provided by the experts on Horse Tip Daily.